Hello! In this video we're going to be using the sine rule. So the objective here is to use the sine rule to find missing sides or angles in any triangle. So the key idea, the sine rule helps us to find missing angles and sides in triangles that are not necessarily right angled. So we've already met SOHCAHTOA, however the limitation of SOHCAHTOA is that it only works for right angled triangles. So if we want to find a missing side or angle of a triangle that's not necessarily right angled, we might be able to use the sine rule to help us. So the sine rule states that if we want to find a missing side, we have A over sine A equals B over sine B equals C over sine C. We need to actually know what A, B and C and capital A, capital B, capital C, what they actually represent. So if we have a triangle like the one above, we label the sides the lowercase letters and the angles the capital letters. So I'm going to label this side A, and now the angle that is opposite A is going to be capital A. I'm going to label this side B, and the angle that is opposite B is going to be capital B. And I'm going to label this side C, and the angle that is opposite this C is capital C. So if we want to find a missing side, we use this version of the sine rule. And if we want to find a missing angle, we use this version. So both versions are exactly the same, mathematically they're identical. It's just easier if we're trying to find a missing side to use the top one, and it's easier if we want to find a missing angle to use the bottom one. So when do we use the sine rule? So suppose we have two angles on one side and we want to find another side, we can use the sine rule. Or alternatively, if we have two sides and one angle and we want to find another angle, we could also use the sine rule. So here's an example. We need to find the size of the side marked X. So the first thing I do with these questions is label the sides and label the angles. So if I start off by labeling X, I'm going to label that lowercase a. So that means the angle opposite lowercase a needs to be capital A. I'm going to label 7 centimetres lowercase b. So the angle opposite 7 centimetres needs to be capital B. Since we're trying to find a missing side, I'm going to use the version of the sine rule that states that A over sine A equals B over sine B equals C over sine C. So if I just sub in the values I have X over sine 65 equals B, so 7 over sine 40. And that's all I need for now. So to work out what X is, I need to get X by itself, and at the moment we have X over sine 65. So the opposite of dividing by sine 65 is multiplying by sine 65. So I'm going to multiply both sides by sine 65, and I end up with 7 over sine 40 times sine 65. So if I type that into my calculator, I end up with 9.869. And if I want to round that to 3 significant figures, I end up with 9.87, and I'm going to say to 3 significant figures. So the answer to this question is 9.87. Here's another example. So we need to find the size of the angle marked X. So I'm going to label the sides and angles like the previous question. So if I call 9 centimetres A, the angle opposite 9 centimetres needs to be capital A. If I call 12 centimetres B, the angle opposite 12 centimetres needs to be capital B. This time we're trying to find a missing angle, so I'm going to use the other version of the sine rule that states that sine A over A equals sine B over B, which equals sine C over C. So if I plug in the values, I end up with sine of 35 over 9 equals sine of X over 12. So to get sine X by itself, I need to multiply both sides by 12. So I end up with sine X equals 12 times sine 35 over 9. And if I want to find out what X is, I need to do the inverse of sine X. So the inverse of sine X is sine to the minus 1. So I type into my calculator sine to the minus 1 of the answer to the above. So I'll put answer. So if I type that all in, I end up with 49.886. So if I round that to 1 decimal place, I end up with 49.9 degrees, and that is going to be the answer to this question. Here's another example. So I need to find the size of the angle marked X. So again, I'm going to go ahead and label my angles and label my sides. So this time 8, I'm going to label A. Now the side opposite A we don't have, so I'm just going to call this capital A. I'm going to call 13 lowercase b, and the angle opposite lowercase b is going to be capital B, so that's this one. And X I'm going to label as capital C, so the side opposite X is going to be lowercase c. So I'm trying to find a missing angle. So I'm going to use the version of the sine rule that says that sine A over A equals sine B over B equals sine C over C. Now the issue with this question is the fact that I don't have the side opposite the angle that I want to find. So I'm trying to find x, but I don't have the corresponding side that goes with it. So at this moment in time, I can't actually work out what x is. However, what we could do instead is we could work out this side, capital A, because we have all of the components to do that. And then at that point, we would have two angles, so we could just add them together and subtract them from 180 to work out the third angle. So if I do that, I would end up with sine A over 8 equals sine 42 over 13. So to work out what sine A is, I'm going to multiply both sides by 8. So I have sine 42 over 13 times 8. And if I want to find out what A is, I need to do sine inverse of whatever that is. So if I type that all into my calculator, I end up with 24.3 degrees. So I know that A is 24.3 degrees, and I also know that angles in a triangle add up to 180. So to work out what x is, I'm going to do 42 plus 24.3, and then I'm going to subtract my answer from 180. So I have 42 plus 24.3, I'm going to work that out, and I'm going to subtract it from 180, and I end up with 113.7 degrees. So that is the answer to this question. So here are some quick fire practice questions on this topic. Pause the video, have a go at these, and I'll reveal the answers in a moment. Okay, so well done if you managed to have a go at those. I've just displayed the answers, and that's everything for this video. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in another video. Bye!